Warami Miriga Budgerina, wouldn't you? You're Awabakal. Hello, friend. Good to see you. Today I'm on Awabakal country. I'm up here today in Munmora State Conservation Area, and I want to talk to you guys a little bit about an incident that happened a while ago that changed my views and changed my way of thinking when it comes to four-wheel drives and how I drive them. So obviously, it involves this old girl and a bit of a problem that happened. Now, if you're following me on Facebook and Instagram, you would have seen a bit of a post about this already. But here it is. Yesterday, September 7th, popped up a memory on my Facebook account, on my personal profile, from 5 years ago. So 7th September 2019. And after seeing that pop up, I thought to myself, I might do a video explaining what happened and how that changed things for me. So the story goes, on the 6th of September or whatever I'm guessing it was, some mates and I were discussing doing a run out to Morisset Ward 21, the old Morisset mental home. A lot of people know it as the asylum, the crim, whatever you want. I've actually done a full video walk around on Morisset back before the gates got closed. And to be honest, I'm kind of glad they got closed. However, there are other ways for four-wheel drivers to go in there. Since the gates have been closed, I haven't taken this out there. To be honest, since this incident happened, I haven't done any difficult four-wheel driving or anything I'd classify as difficult four-wheel driving out there, because this situation changed a lot of things for me. So, yeah, we discussed going out to Morisset Ward 21. There was a few of us. I think, from memory, there were 4 of us that were planning to go out. There was myself, there was Josh in a 2-wheel drive Ranger, about a PK or PJ or something along those lines. There was, I think the fella's name was Matt, in a brand new 4-day-old Ford Ranger. Just had, basically, I can't remember if it was him or his work, but they'd purchased the car and they'd just bolted everything to it. He wanted to go out and give it a run. And then there was another fella, I can't remember his name, in a blue, I'm pretty sure it was a Holden Rodeo. So we discussed going out there. I decided to pike out because I was having a lot of trouble with the Padge at the time. I was on my new clutch. When I bought the car, I needed to get the clutch replaced. So I'd put a new clutch in, and it had been in there for about a year. And I was having trouble getting in and out of gear, but only when stationary. So from what it come to find out is the pressure plate wasn't releasing properly, and for that reason I was having trouble getting in and out of gear when stationary. So because of that, I was a little bit concerned and I didn't know what to do. I decided to opt out. I said to the boys, hey look, sorry, I'm not coming along with you. I'm going to pike out of this one. I'm going to be a party pooper and I'm not going to come out. Have a great day out there. Then I saw on Facebook and that some photos of them out at the actual ward itself, at the old mental home. And I'm like, you know what? Stuff it, I'm going. Going to shoot out there and I'm going to see where they're at and going to go for a run. It's only 20 minutes up the road for me. Stuff it. Going to go. In hindsight, maybe I shouldn't have. But also in that aspect, maybe it was bloody good that I did. Because as I said, it changed a lot for me. So I ducked out there. Come in from the typical way. Upon arriving out there, I saw a Nissan Patrol that was almost on its side, in one big friggin' stupid rut. He was freaking out that he was going to flip. There were 2 other vehicles with him. One of them had a winch, but from what I could gather, none of them had much of an idea. One of them reckons they were related to someone out of 4-wheel drive 24/7, but I don't know about that. So yeah, they reckon they knew everything. But yeah, this patrol was almost on its side. So I've gone over and I've done what I can to try and help. So we did that, got him out, and then I ended up catching up with the other boys. Ended up catching up with them and we decided we're going to do the big loop. So anybody that knows Morisset, the big loop starts almost from the top of the ward, goes up around along the train lines and then comes back out further up. And there's a few vehicle swallow-on holes out there. I'd been out there a few weeks before, and there was I think from memory, it was a patrol on 35s and a 4-inch lift, and you could sort of see the top of his guards in one of these holes. So that's how deep this bloody hole was. And he was stuck as they snapped a snatch strap trying to get him out. They literally busted one of the snatchers trying to get him out. We were a little bit further up and we heard it. It sounded like a gunshot. So yeah, we decided to do that track, do the loop. It was always a bit of fun. It was plenty of mud, plenty of bog holes, very tricky in the Ranger. There was some good washouts and wombat holes there, so the Ranger, all of us could get some good flex. I could get some good wheel lift. We had a good time. First vehicle to get stuck, I believe, from memory, was the Ranger, because he'd flexed out on these wombat holes, and once that back wheel was off the ground, he was done. Then went down the Rodeo, and you can see the photos here from that. He flooded the inside of his car. He just slipped in, didn't take the chicken track wide enough. Then, from memory again, the Ranger got stuck just on a slippery section. And then I went down. And that was in that big bog hole that I just mentioned with the patrol. I tried to avoid it. And the simple factor is, as I've tried to go around, I didn't quite go wide enough. The back end slipped in, and then the front end's fallen in as well. And as you can see for the photos here, wasn't a nice situation. So at this point of the time, it's like, okay, well, I'm blocking the path for anyone else to get around, unless you're going through that big bog hole there, which I'm pretty sure everyone's going to get stuck in. So the only one that could safely do that was the Ranger with the winch. So he's gone through and he got stuck. He had to winch himself through it, but he was able to get around in front of me. And then hooked the winch to the front of my car to pull me through. So he's done that, got my car out, and then when I've jumped back in and sort of had a look at things, I had no clutch pressure. What the hell's going on here? I've got no clutch whatsoever. So climbed under the car, had a look, couldn't see any sort of a problem. When we looked at the release fork and everything like that, everything seemed to be moving fine. So it must have been inside the bell housing. I'm like, okay, what am I meant to do? I can keep it in neutral and get dragged out here. And that's about all I can do. I'm like, what am I going to do? So we tried doing that. Hooked mine up to the Ranger and had him drag me forward. And I think this is the only time I've ever been recovered by a Ranger. No, sorry, second time. I only ever twice been recovered by a Ranger. Recovered more Rangers than any other vehicle though. So I still tick that as a win for the badge. But yeah, I got recovered by the Ranger. He pulled me through this section as far as we could. And then we got to some tight corners and a couple of steep hills, one in particular. And we couldn't get through that with me on the back. Roll back, try again. A little bit more power. Yeah, so did the missus. So I opted to start the car in gear. Obviously being stationary, I could push it into whatever gear I wanted. So I opted to start the car in gear and try and just drive it out of there. So I've done that, started the car, then all of a sudden I noticed this loud banging noise. Shit, that doesn't sound good. What have I done? The car still had plenty of power, so I had no idea. I was very new to four-wheel drives back then. I'd had this for about 18 months or something. Maybe just a touch over. So yeah, I was still pretty new to four-wheel drives back then. I had no idea what was going on. Not mechanically minded, you bugger all about cars in general, in that aspect. So I got it in first gear. I gave it heaps. I was still in four high. Gave it heaps, got myself out of there, which was good. I managed to get myself from where I was stuck, complete the loop trail probably in the fastest time ever because I wasn't slowing down for anything. I just wanted to keep going. And I couldn't stop to put the clutch in. Every time I stopped, I had to stall the car. So I couldn't really stop and put the clutch in and then start and keep going. So I just kept going. Got myself out onto the main track. We got under it, had a bit more of a look. Tried to find out what was going on, what the knocking noise was. Thought maybe there was something stuck inside it. Some guys mentioned that maybe I'd thrown a rod. Got under the car, couldn't see any evidence of that. So well, I'm not, sure as hell not leaving it in Morisset overnight. I've seen what happens to cars out there, and there's no way in hell I was leaving that. I'd come back and it would be burnt out, trashed, gone. There's no doubt in my mind that that would have happened if I had left it there. So I limped it out to the YE Point fire station, the RFS station. Just first gear the whole way, just limped it. And I parked it up in their fire station. I figured at least there, it would be pretty safe. And I've left a note on their door and on my dash to say that the car's broken down. I've gotten a lift home and I'm going to be organising a tow truck. I will be back there ASAP with a tow truck to remove the car. Sorry for any inconvenience. At least that way they could see what was going on. I did get a call saying, hey, look, you've got to move your car. And then I said to the fellow, look, as he's ringing me, he's noticed this note on the dash to say that it's broken down. And he's like, okay, fair enough, man, but next time don't, sort of thing. It's better than leaving it in the bush, because then they would have been called out to a fire in the bush, which would have been my car getting burnt out. And again, I've got no doubt of that. That place is shocking for burnt-out cars and dumped cars and whatnot, and people just trashing them. So I had no doubt that that's what would have happened if I had left it. So yeah, got it home. Eventually got the tow truck home, got it home, put it in the driveway. Over the next couple of months, I'm trying to work out what I'm going to do. And I had two mechanics come out and physically look at the car, and both of them said it was my throw-out bearing. Now, within this period as well, I managed to get the throw-out bearing released. I managed to get the clutch working again. Got under there to the inspection port with some WD-40 and sprayed the crap out of it and everything, and managed to get it released. Got the clutch working again, but they still said it was the throw-out bearing. This knocking noise was my throw-out bearing. So, again, having no mechanical experience myself, I trusted two mechanics. And ended up trying to work out how I'm going to replace the clutch again. So, come December, I'd organised that I've paid off a few debts. I can now afford to repay a no-interest loan through the local neighbourhood centre. So I rang them when I was ready to be able to repay it. Closed for Christmas, weren't they? So I reached out to my mechanic and he said, look, how confident are you that you'll get the loan in January? And I said, mate, I'll have no problems. There's no doubt in my mind I'll get the loan. So he agreed to do the work, to replace the clutch and everything for me for Christmas, so that me and the family could go away. And he's left it to a couple of days before, like only 1 or 2 days before he closed for Christmas. And yeah, we got the car in and he replaced the clutch for me. He's the same mechanic, mind you, one of, that came out and looked at the car. So put it in, he replaced the clutch. So very grateful that he actually did that on tick, so to speak. But then he rings me and says, yep, clutch is done, but you still got this knocking noise. I don't know what it is. Oh, shit. Well, there goes me and the family going away for Christmas. I am not impressed. So yeah, I'm like, what am I going to do? So I ended up getting the missus to drive me over there, and I was rather annoyed. Got the missus to drive me over there in her car. And by this time, it had been September, it was now Christmas time. So September, October, November, December. Coming up on actually probably just over 4 months, this car had been off the road. It was killing me. I'd walk past this day and near cry because I'd be walking past it to go and jump in my wife's 97 Corolla, and go and do things. It was It was heartbreaking. It was killing me. So, yeah, I got the shits. When I got the car, drove it home with this knocking noise. What I'd come to find is that when it was sitting over 3,000 RPM, the noise seemed to disappear. So if I had to pull up at a roundabout or traffic lights or anything like that, I'd just put the clutch in and just keep the revs up. So that noise wasn't there. She'd be noisy, might be a bit annoying to people, but it kept that clunking noise away. I got home, didn't know what to do. I sat in the garage for a bit, and I really, really contemplated selling the car. Over Christmas, I'm sitting there looking at it in the driveway, thinking of how much damn money it's costing me. Is it worth keeping? Is it worth trying to fix? How much money it's costing me now, how much it's cost me in the past? Is it worth the effort? And then I sat there, I had a 12-volt TV in the garage playing around with things, and I watched the movie Love the Beast. And I've mentioned this in other videos before. I watched the movie Love the Beast. And for those that don't know the movie, it's about Eric Bana and his XB Falcon Coupe. And how he crashed that, how he'd spent his life working on this car. It was his mate, a campfire for him and his mates. It's where they all came together. And how he crashed it doing the Targa Tasmania race and destroyed the thing. I've come to find out since he's rebuilt this car again, so I'd love to know more on that build. That to me is real passion and real love for a vehicle. And I'll admit, I teared up. To be honest, I feel a bit of tear coming on now. But I teared up over it. And it was there and then I decided that I'm never getting rid of this car. That I will replace every nut and bolt in this car before I part with it. The day that I do part with it will be the day that it cannot be repaired. So that basically leads to that it's just been totaled in a crash, a non-repairable write-off. Even if it's a repairable write-off, I'll do what I can to try and repair it. But yeah, it will come down to being a non-repairable write-off. And that's the day I think I'll get rid of this car. Because that love that Eric Bana had for his car, that passion that he had for it, really made me decide the same thing about this old girl. Yeah, you might look at it and go, it's just a Pajero. It's nothing flash, and it's not. Doesn't need to be anything flash. But that's where I realised how much I love this car. How much I love it as a daily driver, as a family car, as an off-road vehicle, as a tourer. It's when I really decided how much I loved it and that I don't want to get rid of it. So, yeah, eventually it took me 9 months before I got this car back on the road. And that was largely thanks to a mate, BJ, with his physical help. Because he's a lot more mechanically minded than I am. And he loves his Pajeros as much as I do. And another fella, Mr. Pajero, Rudy Zebo over in WA, I sent him a video through Facebook Messenger. This is what it's doing. Gets to 3,000 RPM, this is the noise, gets to 3,000 RPM, the noise stops. I since then had another mechanic look at it, and he didn't know if it was a bottom end bearing, or a throwout bearing, or could it be timing belt? He didn't know, he couldn't tell me. It could have been a couple of different things. Rudy turned around to me and said, I believe it's the hydraulic tensioner in your timing belt, in your timing. So I went out and I bought new lifters. Went out and bought a whole heap of new parts, lifters, spark plugs, leads, new gaskets, full VRS kit, all this sort of stuff I went out and bought for it, including a new timing belt kit, water pump, etc. And as I've started to pull things down, I got a wrench onto the camshaft bolt, and I turned that, and I managed to turn it a couple of times out of gear, and you could hear and see that timing belt go from loose to tight, hear the bang, go back to loose. I said, that's the friggin' knock. Exactly as Rudy said, from the other side of the country, through a crappy little Facebook Messenger video, exactly as Rudy said, you timing belt tensioner. So I got a full timing rebuild, but again, it took me over 9 months, or about 9 months, to get this car back on the road, to be able to get all the parts and everything I needed to get the help and get it all back in place. So now I had a full new timing kit, had a new clutch in it as well, which was $1,600 worth of debt that I really couldn't afford, but had a new clutch in it as well. So got it back on the road and I was happy again.
Am I going to be lucky? Is my baby finally going to come to life? There's no fucking knock!
I know it's a long story, but how did that change me? That changed me looking at the way I drive the vehicle. That changed me thinking about the sort of driving that I want to do, the places I want to go. See, for me, I got to that point there when Morisset Ward 21, places like that, where you go in, you do a track, you do a loop, whatever, you brag that you've done it. You haven't seen anything special. You haven't gone anywhere wonderful or amazing. You've just done a loop and ended up back where you were. Places like Creek Road, to me, are exactly the same. Look, they're difficult tracks by all means, but you get really nothing out of it except bragging rights. Yeah, I've driven it. Yeah, I've done that track. To me, that's no longer exciting. I do get that joy from tackling a tough track or a tough obstacle, but there's a minimal reward. And I got to that point after all this, that if I'm going to go doing mud and difficult track, I want there to be an amazing reward at the end of it. A 125R lookout, for example. I've had people say to me that they watched my video when I first tackled that track in the shakedown video with Matt. That when they saw me doing that section, that rough section going up there, that it really must be worth it at the end of it. And I'll say that it is. I love that lookout. It's stunning. And I've been back there numerous times. As you saw, I went there back there most recently with Jerry when I had the trailer on the back. And I'm confident doing a track like that. I'm not worried about a track like that. But you see in most of my videos, I'm not tackling tough stuff. And I'm only doing it if I'm trying to get to a destination. I'm not doing it just to turn around and go, hey, I've done it. That's why I've never done green brakes. That's why I've never done half the stuff up in the Wattigans, because I have no interest in it. If I can find an easier way around, then I will. And that's come from having this car off the road for 9 months, come from this incident at Morisset 5 years ago. It really has changed the way I look at things and the way that I want to drive this car. And it's changed, I guess, my views on the four-wheel drive industry in that sense. I don't really see the point anymore in that sort of driving unless you've got a daily vehicle that you can rely on and you've got disposable income, which a lot of us don't these days. Because by doing things like that, you're going to break your car, you're going to put it off the road. So you need to have that money to be able to fix it. And it's something I don't have. So, yeah. So that, guys, is how it's changed me. It's really changed the way I drive my vehicle and the way I care for it in regard to mechanical sympathy. And yeah, it has really changed the way I look at things with how I look after this car. And it's changed a lot in regard to how I look at the car and how I treat the car in regard to the fact that I want to keep it until the day it cannot be repaired. So my goals back then were maybe to do it up and do a bit of touring and do some hard tracks and get out there and use it as a toy and have fun with it. I guess use it as it's made for, but I still want to do that. But I want to look after it a lot more. So my ultimate goal now with this car would be to do it up as a tourer. But my dream would be one day buy a Gen 4, take this off the road, buy a Gen 4 in diesel and automatic. Two things that I've always said that I never want. But the diesel will mean that I'll be able to do trips down to Sydney easier and things like that. Not worrying quite as much about fuel costs and whatnot and how much I'm using. The diesel will also, being an automatic, be a car that my wife can drive because she doesn't know how to drive manual. So I want to get a diesel and an automatic in a Gen 4. And that will become, hopefully one day, a family car and a daily driver. But I'll put basically everything that's in this, my draw system, battery, all that, I'll put into the back of the Gen 4, being that they're basically the same, unless they have the subwoofer built in. So that will be the idea, and take this off the road to literally do a ground up rebuild. So hopefully it will happen. But either way, every nut, every bolt will be replaced on this car if I have to, before I get rid of it. So, alright guys, I know this has been a rambly video. I do hope you've enjoyed it. Yeah. Let me know in the comments, what do you think of your car? Would you do the same for yours? Do you have that love and that passion for your car? That you'd replace every nut and bolt in it before you got rid of it? Be it a four-wheel drive or a normal car. Let me know. Do you have that love for your car? And have you had an incident where it's changed your views on things, like the incident of my timing belt basically going and this incident out at Morisset? Have you had an incident like that that's changed your views and the way you drive and do things? Let us know in the comments, guys. I'd be interested to see what you've got to say. Alright guys, if you haven't subscribed already, please do so. If you haven't liked already, please do so. Alright, Yamma Bujiri Murugu, walk a good path. Yano, goodbye.